How's it going, everybody? This is Aleksei, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What up, Will?
What up?
We are back after not having any fights last week. It's so weird when we don't have any fights on a weekend.
It's weird. It's weird. Do you think it's good for pay-per-views?
No.
You don't think it like makes people want it more, and then they're like, "Oh, I'll buy it. It's been a whole week." Like they're itching.
No, I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Everybody, welcome to Story of the Fight. My name is Romero. That's my boy Will, and this is where we talk everything combat sports. Right? We got Rich, the casual, our producer in the background. Call him the casual because he watches 0 fights, but does a great job producing. So shout out to Rich. But yeah, last weekend, Andrew Tosi came through.
Yeah, saved
the weekend. Yeah, and the nice thing about Andrew Tosi coming on Tuesday, he also shared his handle.
Yeah.
Because some people don't like to listen to us on Spotify, Breaker Podcast, Radio Public, Google Podcast. And like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just follow him on social media.
Yeah, and they can find us on @StoryTheFight on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
That's right. But anywhere you would like to get some of our content, just make sure you like, subscribe on YouTube, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever we post anything new. It's always a lot of fun. The more people we have on with us, the better whenever we go live.
Yeah, and we're trying to get to 400 subscribers. We're at 342 right now.
Ooh, steady climbing.
Getting
there, man. Yeah. So, but yeah, Andrew Tosi, shout out to Andrew Tosi. Did a fantastic job with that interview last week.
Yeah, check out that interview.
And then we went into this card yesterday, Will, where there's a roller coaster of emotions for me. UFC 273.
Yeah, for sure, a roller coaster. It was wild.
It was wild card. So you want to get right into it?
Yeah, we'll start main event.
Volkanovski versus Chen Sung-jung, also known as the Korean Zombie. Isn't it so crazy?
Best walkout in the game.
The UFC just rides with that name too, the Korean Zombie. Like you'll see people, like everybody has a nickname. All these fighters, the majority of the fighters have a nickname, but you don't see like their nickname posted.
Well, not just that, but like
on posters
not even just the posters during the fight where they have like the round and it's like, all right, Volkanovski, and then Zombie. It doesn't even say Sung-jung. It literally just says Zombie. If someone just came in and was like, "What are you watching? Volkanovski versus Zombie? What the fuck?" Like, are those team names? Like,
and then, but if anybody were to walk up and say, "What are you watching, Zombie? What are you talking about?" and then watch a fight, they'd be like, "Oh, I get it.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's Zombie.
I get it." So
they're like, "Which one's Zombie?" Oh, that one. That one's Zombie.
Yeah. A couple things.
Yeah.
Volkanovski is so damn good, man.
Dude, he looked, and you could argue because of who he's fighting stylistically, but he looked on another level last night.
100%. 100%.
He looked very good.
The thing that I was so impressed with Volkanovski is the way he mixed it up. And I'm not just saying with his strikes, but I'm saying his ability to be first and then switches right away. And it's like his ability to just sit back and counter. And he was doing that so perfectly at the perfect times. And he was reading Zombie so well. And there was such a huge difference in speed. And I don't know if this was something that they scouted or not, but Zombie was very heavy to lead off with a left, whether it was the jab, whether it was a left lead hook. But Volkanovski was waiting for every single one, and his ability to slip right off of those and hit him with his own left-right combo over and over and over again was so impressive, man. And he's so much power.
And Dean Thomas said it perfectly. He's like, that first round seemed like, because Chen Sung-jung was like, he was just kind of there for every punch that Volkanovski was throwing. He was getting lit up early, instantly. He was getting lit up. And he was like, it seems like he's trying to counter the leg kicks. And like historically, if you're doing like a scouting report and you're game planning for Volkanovski, it's like, all right, first round, lots of leg kicks. Let's counter those leg kicks. And then he's like, I'm not even throwing leg kicks yet. and he didn't throw the first leg kick until like 3 minutes into the round. And so here we are, Korean Zombie's waiting for a leg kick to go, and he's getting lit up by that jab. And I mean,
and then how did Volkanovski start off the second round?
Heavy
leg kicks.
Yeah.
God, just a masterful performance.
I mean, that's a champion. That's a champion.
And I said this in the last fight when he faced Ortega, and I was like, man, I got to give Volkanovski more credit. Mm-hmm. And I think it just goes to show also just how good Max Holloway is.
Yeah,
because
seriously.
Every single one of those fights has been extremely competitive. I personally have Max Holloway winning, those fights. But that's just me. Yeah. But there's Volkanovski, there's Holloway, and then there's a gap.
Yeah, there really
in that
is.
division, like a big gap. And
yeah,
I don't know if anybody's going to be able to close that gap anytime soon, other than Max Holloway.
Other than Max, yeah, that's the only guy. And even then, it's highly contested.
Yes,
and
dude, he's just so good.
Yeah, and how about I want to talk too about the UFC changing all their graphics.
Oh yeah,
I mean the on-screen display for like in the middle of the fight is completely different now. Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the way the round thing looks.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich.
Pictures.
You got pictures now. There we go.
But yeah, I mean, kind of weird though when they're doing the teletape now that it's not still images of the fighters. Yeah. They're like kind of like awkwardly like
rubbing their gloves and like
it's kind of weird.
Their fist up and then like pounding their fists and
Petr Yan. I was like, oh, his is a photo, but then you see his eyes go, and I'm like, oh no, it's still a video.
Hey, I personally liked it. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
It's cool. I just don't like the way like the round indicator looks. It's a little weird.
Yeah, and with Korean Zombie, again, that's why that's his nickname. He takes punishment. He continues moving forward. Yeah. He took some massive shots from Volkanovski, and in some of those cases, like he caught Volkanovski with some big shots himself when he was getting beat up against the cage. Yeah, and then you see Volkanovski kind of you see Volkanovski kind of lay back and then go for a clinch up against the cage because he didn't want to get caught with something random.
Yeah.
But I mean, by the way, Herb Dean, I know we shit on him a lot.
Fantastic job.
This was one of the best jobs reffing that I've seen him do in a very long time.
Yeah, it was very, very good because he's not going to stop it in between rounds. It should have been stopped in between rounds, but that's not on him. That's on Korean Zombie's corner. For sure, call that before the fourth round even starts. They didn't. Herb gets the doctor in. The doctor's like, do you want to fight? And Zombie's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, yeah, he's good. and then Herb's like, oh, all right, well, I'm going to keep a close eye. And instantly Volkanovski cracks him a couple times, and he's like, nope, that's it.
Herb Dean recognized that, man. He recognized it and said, that doctor just did the shittiest job checking on the Korean Zombie, so it's my job to protect the fighter at this point. Yeah. And I'm going to stop it, but I see that he ends up taking any more punishment. And the very first exchange,
combo,
where Zombie gets caught and you see him kind of like be really wobbly, Herb Dean steps in right away, and that was it. So I thought it was really good.
Point, let's be real. The rule is you stop it when they're not intelligently defending themselves, and Zombie just wasn't. He was not
having
defending
a really
himself.
hard time. And, and the body language from Zombie too.
I don't mean that to take away anything from him. That's just how good Volkanovski is. It's just that's the reality is he was not intelligently defending himself. Whether it be if he could or not, doesn't matter. But that's the reality. He wasn't intelligently defending himself. He was getting lit up every single time Volkanovski threw. He's there to eat it. And at a certain point, what are we doing? We're going to do this for all 5 rounds? Why? Especially in that division. That division is notorious for this kind of fights. You realize that?
Yeah. I mean, anytime like Ortega and Holloway, Volkanovski, Ortega, Calvin Kattar, Holloway. Like
Calvin Kattar, Chikadze. Giga Chikadze. And now this one. It's like, what's going on with this division, man?
Yeah,
just straight beatdowns.
But some of the toughest freaking dudes in this division.
Yeah.
There's just no quitting Zombie. And going from the first round to the second round, when Volkanovski had taken him down and he didn't stand up to sit on the stool.
Oh, man.
He stayed on the ground. I said,
it's like, all right, call it. Call it.
It's over.
Dude, not even before that, when the round ended and he was on his back and he just kind of squeezed his eyes and was just kind of laying there for a second, I was like, dude, this guy's not. he's not going to win this fight.
No.
We don't need to see anything else. And then I'm saying that as a massive Korean Zombie fan. I wanted it more than anything on this card. That's what I wanted to happen the most is somehow. And I like Volkanovski a lot too. But Zombies, I mean, I've been with Zombie since the WEC. You know what I mean? So like to see him finally get this shot again, whether it be due to injury or whatever, right? But he got the shot. I wanted him to pull it off so bad, but I mean,
did you hear the record that Korean Zombie had with this, where it's the most days in between title shots? It was like 3,000 and something days.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, when he fought Aldo, that was a long time ago.
Very long time ago. And Volkanovski, I gained so much respect for him last night, not just because of the performance, but let me tell you what really got me. There was a little space in my heart. Like, those fighters that I had in my heart, they moved over a little bit. They're like, dude, here, let's create a little space for Volkanovski right here.
And they pick up Volkanovski and they raise him.
And they place him right in that little space. Yeah. And it's when Volkanovski waits off to the side. You see Korean Zombie, after he gets interviewed, he lays down, hands on his face. He stands up. I don't know if that's his wife or his girlfriend, probably his wife. And they're hugging each other, and he's crying. Mm-hmm. And Volkanovski, the entire time, like part of his team walks out. The entire time, the Volkanovski waits right by the door, standing there with his belt on until he stood up, walked over to Volkanovski, and he offers him the exit of the octagon first after he bows to him.
Yeah.
And Korean Zombie just hugs him, and they just embrace each other for a while. And, I'm not too sure exactly what was said. I'm sure there were some nice words in there. But then, same thing after the embrace, he once again offers the exit out first for Zombie, which I thought was extremely respectful, super classy of the guy. And like I said, now
the champ.
Now he's right there, dude, in my heart.
It got to the point where in that third round, I was watching it with Sam, and I was like, dude, I'm starting to feel bad for both guys here, because you could tell Volkanovski was like, what are we doing here, And
he said it in the interview.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I started to feel bad in there, and it's like, fuck, man, at the championship level, we shouldn't be having that. I mean, it is what it is. It's gonna happen, you know what I mean? But it does suck to watch, especially when it's one guy like a guy like Korean Zombie. You just hate to see him in that position. But I mean, realistically, it's probably time for Zombie.
For Korean Zombie, I agree, man. I agree. And I mean, so now in the top 5, you have Calvin Kattar. He just beat Korean Zombie. You have Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway. So I mean, I really want to see the Holloway Volkanovski fight.
Yeah,
like I really want to see that happen.
Yeah, I think also, I know pound for pound is fucking stupid, but at this point, Volkanovski, I mean, he's already number 3, but I don't know. He's starting to maybe edge out Izzy, in my opinion, if I'm being honest. I mean, he is incredible.
Just based off of how dominant his last performance had been.
And not just dominant. It's not even just that. It's dominant in every facet of mixed martial arts. Like,
hey, if you were to put up Charles Oliveira versus Volkanovski, how do you think that would go?
Fuck, it's such a weird fight, dude. Because
it would.
Because I see Volkanovski as like a bantamweight because he's so short, but like he's not. He's very close to being a lightweight. He used to weigh
over 200 pounds when he played rugby.
Allegedly, that got. It's funny because that got like lost in translation of metric and standard or whatever the fuck. But because and he even corrected Joe on that on his podcast, and Joe's still like, man, this guy used to be over 200 pounds. Dude, he corrected you specifically. It was like so it was like the kilograms, and all that shit.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
but no,
so funny.
That's again a masterful performance. If anything, is Yair versus Ortega or anything like that set up right now? Because that would be fantastic.
Shout out Andrew Toasty. Good morning, fellas. Good to see y'all. Shout out Andrew Toasty. Like we said, go back and watch the interview we just did with him last week.
Oh, shout out Toasty.
Yeah.
Fun interview. Yeah. But would you say Ortega versus Yair?
You have to do Ortega versus Yair. This is the fight. There was supposed to be Holloway versus Volkanovski. Holloway, I think, is back now. I don't think he's injured anymore. So it's like, all right, cool. Let's get on with that. And Ortega versus Yair. Or either Ortega versus Yair or like, what do you do with Calvin?
I think Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen.
Arnold Allen called him out, and the Cater fight or the Cater camp is down. If I'm the Cater camp, I don't know if I even take that fight though. He's coming off a big
Risky.
win.
It's
Well, he's
risky.
just coming off a big win. If I was Cater, I'd be like, I deserve to fight up. I haven't gotten a chance to fight Volkanovski. I would be trying to get the Yair fight.
Yeah, that I could see that happening. But the only thing is that I definitely think they'll make Volkanovski versus Holloway. Like, that has to happen.
Yeah.
So what do you?
Oh yeah, you have to do it.
I don't think Brian Ortega wants to, one, sit off on the sidelines, and two, he wouldn't want to really take a big leap down and say, well, maybe Cater versus Ortega, for example. I mean, who knows?
The hard thing for me with Ortega is, like, in my opinion, Ortega's got to fight down, and he shouldn't be fighting someone who's potentially one fight away from a title shot. If I'm the UFC matchmakers, I'm not putting Ortega in that spot, because if Ortega wins, we just killed a new contender for a division that's kind of log-jammed by Volkanovski and Holloway. We just got a fresh fight right now, but it's because that fight got canceled. So if I'm them, because if Ortega wins his next fight and it's someone who's a fight away from the title fight, what do we have him fight Max again and get the shit beat out of him? Do we have him fight Volkanovski again when he got? I mean, outside of a couple minutes of that fight, it was very one-sided. So, like, I don't know. I would like to see, if you challenge for a belt and you lose, you should get dropped out of the top 5, in my opinion. I hate that they keep them at like 2 or 3 because it's, and then we end up with Colby Covington situation and at welterweight. It just kind of sucks.
I mean, it's tough though, because they're still one of the best fighters in that division.
100%. But
but in order for you to keep the rotation going, that's what would have to happen.
Yeah, imagine if you're like, oh man, I just got on this ride. I waited in line, got on this ride, just finished the ride. Let me just hop right back in the front of this line.
Yeah.
You know, like all the people there are like, what the fuck? This guy just went. It's my turn.
Either way, I mean, when you take a look at the top 7, Josh Emmett, what do we do with Josh Emmett? You know, it's a very exciting division.
No, definitely. Arnold Allen, if I'm the UFC, I'm doing Calvin Kattar versus Yair, Holloway versus Volkanovski, and Brian Ortega versus Arnold Allen. That's what I would do.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
As a fan, I really want to see Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar, but as far as moving the division along, I think that's the best move, is to have Ortega fight Brendan Allen.
Got it. All right, man. Anything else on that fight?
No, it sucks to see your boys get beat up, though. It's one of the hardest things about this sport.
I know, man. It's like Volkanovski said, hey, we signed up for this.
Yeah.
You know, 100%. It's crazy. All right. Before that, we had the rematch of Aljamain Sterliing versus Petr Yan. Now, okay. This, So this fight, the way that this fight went down, this is what I expected the first fight.
Yeah.
You know, I on the first fight, I had picked Aljo to win that first fight.
Yeah.
So
I think I picked Yan.
Yeah, and I don't know if
you were right.
I picked Aljo that first fight to win by illegal knee.
Yeah.
the head. That's what I had picked. But so on the first fight, Sterliing came out guns blazing.
Yeah.
Throwing the kitchen sink at him the first round. This fight, a lot more patient that first round. And he was picking and choosing when he'd go a lot more this fight.
And that's something that he talked about. And leading up to this fight, I mean, the lead up to this fight, Aljo played this perfectly, because he's talking about how I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Everybody's doubting me. I'm gonna make a bunch of money betting on myself, like all this shit, right? He said later, like, he's not actually betting on himself because he used to have a gambling problem. But regardless, he's saying this, right? He's like, I know that I can beat this guy. What I felt in there from him versus what I felt inside myself, I know that a healthy me will beat this guy. He kept telling everybody that. And obviously you're going to say that, right? But it did seem different. Like when I watched him on Ariel, his show recently, I was like, oh, I was like,
smile on his face.
Yeah, I was like, he's starting to swing me a little bit, even though skill-wise, I think Petr Yan will beat him still. But I was like, man, I'll just try to make me into a believer, and it's working. And then, but then he started talking about how he's like, yeah, I'm just going to come out and pressure him super hard again in the early part of the fight. And I'm going to, but I'm not going to slow down this time. That's the difference. And I was like, ooh, that's not the right adjustment to make. Like the adjustment is to take the first round kind of off, like Petr usually does. And not, because everybody thinks like, oh, you have to attack him early because he's a slow starter. It's like, no. He's not a slow starter. His defense is impeccable. and he's reading you, and he's just waiting to flip the switch once he analyzes everything. And so when you go guns blazing, you think, "Oh, I'm winning, man. He's like pure defense. I got him on the ropes. He's not throwing anything back.
Just
I'm
downloading information."
Yeah, he's like, this is a full avalanche. I'm just gonna keep going with this pressure, and then you get tired, and then he starts beating the brakes off of you.
Yep.
But this one, so he says that he's gonna He's like, this time I'm gonna do the same thing, but not get tired. And I was like, fuck, that's a bad idea. But then the first round started, and I was like, oh, dude, Aljamain, regardless of if you think he was the champ after that fight, he's a champion caliber fighter. Mm-hmm. After that first round, that solidified that with me. I thought he won that first round. I thought it was a toss-up in the moment, but I was like, the fact that he circled out and he was picking them apart on the outside compared to the first round of the last fight, I was like, this is a champion level change in a title fight, in a back-to-back title fight. I was very impressed after that first round, and then even more impressed after the second round because this is the second round.
Yep.
That second round.
It was very interesting because, man, after you got the belt after the first fight, and just the way that he handled everything, and it was very cringy, and I think I let all of that just affect my decision making because, like I said in the first fight, I picked Aljo. I think Aljo's an excellent fighter. He's over there with Longo Serra, which is an excellent team, dude. By the way, Ray Longo, I love listening to his corner work.
You just humiliated him. He's gonna come out guns blazing this round. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he's like, look at him. As he's walking back, he's like, no, turn around and look at him. Turn around, that mother.
Yeah,
it was so awesome. But I've always thought that Aljo has what it takes to be champion. Okay?
Oh, dude, yeah.
And I just got so pissed off with the way that he handled everything. And quite honestly, though, in that first fight, he was getting work, man. Dude, he was getting work.
That's the big thing. It's not about how he handled the fight after, just what happened in that fight itself. It would be you're betting on a mystery if you're betting Aljo in this fight. Because if you just look at that fight, you think there's no way Sterling's going to win this next one. Because after that first couple rounds, Petr Yan started putting it on. He made Aljamain look like he did not belong in there in the later rounds. So going into this one, the odds are that it's going to be that again. But then Aljo comes in here and, puts on a championship level performance to get the win. It's not about being better at him everywhere and beating him in his own game. It's about just getting the win. And that's what he did, man.
So the second and third rounds, clearly Aljo's. Clearly. Yeah. And what I saw, what separates a contender from like an actual champion or somebody that's championship level.
Yeah.
You see the urgency that Petr Yan had coming out for that fourth and that fifth round. Yeah. His corner told him, they're like, hey, we're probably losing this right now. Not probably. We are losing this right now. You need to go out there and turn things around. And the thing is that you hear this from corners all the time.
Yeah.
You rarely see fighters being able to just flip that switch or still have another gear to be able to make that difference. And dude, as soon as that fourth round started, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Because Petr just hit another gear right now.
Yeah, he really did. But at the same time, Aljamain, I had 4 and 5 were clear rounds for Yan, but
clear.
Aljo in those rounds, his ability to, in the second round, we see him shoot the takedown, the chain wrestling, gets the takedown eventually, right? He just keeps on it, gets the takedown, immediately hops over and takes his back. Aljo is so goddamn good at taking advantage of holes. When he fought Corey Sandhagen, and Sandhagen just slipped for a second, Aljo's on his back, chokes him out. Like, he takes down Petr Yan for a second, he's on his back for 3 minutes of the round. Second round starts. Petr Yan is terrified of the takedown to the point where Aljo shoots a little bit, and his feet are back, his hips are back, he's leaning over, not even considering there might be an uppercut coming. He's just so heavy, just do not get taken down, biting the feints on the takedowns constantly to the point where Aljo is like taking a half shot, landing an uppercut, backs out, and then shoots. And it's like, dude, his ability to mix up the takedowns and keep Yan just completely guessing what's coming was so goddamn good. And
up until the fifth round.
Yeah. But at that point, he has now shot 22 times. His legs are probably exhausted. Like even those
Yeah.
half shots, those legs are toast.
Oh, 100%. But man, it was a really fun fight. And what really pissed me off though is that second round, that third round when the crowd starts booing. Now, dude, he has him in one of the most dominant positions you can have somebody in mixed martial arts. And he's working and the crowd's booing. Look, again, I know a lot of people got rubbed the wrong way with the way that he handled that, but it doesn't change the fact that he's doing work that second and third round. He's dominating Petr Yan.
Dominating.
Okay, so let me see how I scored it, Will. Let me take a look at my notes.
Yeah.
Round 1, I gave it a Yan, 10-9 Yan. Round 2, I gave it a Sterliing 10-8.
Yeah.
It was such a dominant round.
Well, because here's the thing. Round 1 and round 2, those cannot be scored the same.
No.
They cannot be. If round 1 is a 10-9.
Had to have been 4 minutes of control time. That second round.
It was like 3:30 of not just control time, but back control time.
Yes.
That cannot be scored the same as the first round.
Sterliing, give it Aljo, 10-9, and then the last 2 rounds to Petr. So I had it draw.
Yeah, the draw.
47-47.
Yeah. I was leaning draw. I was like, it's either a draw or Sterling's win. And going back, I rewatched the first round last night, and then I rewatched it again this morning. First round, 10-9 Sterliing, in my opinion. He outstruck him on the outside. Yan didn't really do much of anything but walk forward and land a couple shots. I thought Sterliing mixed it up better. He landed more shots. And yeah, I thought he took it. Second round, 10-8, Aljo. Third round, 10-9, Aljo. Fourth round, 10-9, Yan. Fifth round, 10-9, Yan. So I had Aljo winning the first 3 rounds with a 10-8 second.
So because Amato.
Yeah, he didn't give him a 10-8.
No, but I'm saying he had the first 3 rounds for
For 2 judges gave him all 3.
And I could see it. That's the thing. I could see it. I could see it because that first round was a very close round. Hey, shout out again, Andrew Tosi said the crowd in Jacksonville was garbage all night.
Agreed.
For sure. Shout out to Bruce Bobtrotter. Bruce Bobtrotter saying Volk versus RDA for ugliest dude in the UFC fight. How about that? I don't know if they'll make the UMF belt. But shout out Bruce Bobtrotter. Thanks for joining us again today, man.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, I thought it was an excellent fight.
Fantastic fight. Dana says there's not going to be a rematch. Dana says he had Yan winning. I'm guessing he gave him round 1, 4, and 5, and no 10-8s. But he said no. They're not running this back, and I agree. There's no need.
Yeah,
no need.
And at the end where Dana just tries to put the belt over Aljo's shoulder, and Aljo stands up. He's like, "Nah, man, put that belt around my waist."
Put the shit around.
I was like,
me, dog.
"There you go, dude. That was legit. That was legit." So hey, props to Aljo. Way to prove everybody wrong there.
Dude, I mean, you go in with the pressure that he had going into this fight, all the hate that he's had to dude, it's been on like all MMA social media. The dude's for the past year or so has just been a complete joke to people, a complete joke. And he comes out here and despite all that, puts on a championship level performance against a guy who already beat the brakes off of him. Very impressive.
Major adjustments. Andrew Tosti also pointed out the fact that Longo Serra have separated. I knew that too. My bad, man. That's something.
I don't think they separated. I think he's still trained
from
corner
Aljo's corner. From Aljo's corner, right? He only goes in with Longo now.
He still trains with him.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And he walked out. He walked out with Longo, with Ale Quinta and Merab.
That's his boy, man. Both those guys.
Did we talk about what he said?
No.
Why? So Longo obviously head coach, right? You need him. Ale Quinta's there because Ale Quinta, when he fought Khabib, he had Aljo in the corner. And the reason that Merab was there is because Aljo said when Ale Quinta fought Khabib, I was next for the title in my weight class. And he's like, I got to make that walk with Ale Quinta to a sold-out crowd against Khabib, a crazy atmosphere. And he's like, I got to kind of experience what that feels like. So then when I had that fight, my championship fight, I wasn't surprised by that moment. It didn't take me off guard. I'd been there before. Even though it wasn't my fight, I've gone through and done that walk. And he's like, Merab is going to be a champ someday. And I don't want his first title fight to be the first time he makes that walk. So I'll
That
let
is
him
awesome, man.
walk with me in this one and get that experience. And I was like, dude, what a cool gym.
Team
Has
player,
always
man.
been such a cool
But
gym.
isn't it kind of weird though how like Matt Serra was kind of surprised by it?
By what?
That there wasn't some type of conversation between Sarah and Aljo before, like, hey, man, this is gonna be my decision.
Yeah.
You know, this is why. Like, you think like they've been together for so long that they would have, had a conversation leading up to.
That happened before. Sarah knew he wasn't coming in this one.
That was the last part, but I'm saying like because that's where there was so much drama behind that for a while, like a few days after.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive they like buried the hatchet and like it's all good.
Ah, cool. All right. Well, before that,
I don't think Matt Serra is somebody who takes himself too seriously.
Oh, dude, have you seen Looking for a Fight? Dana White's Looking for a Fight. Freaking love the guy in that show. But before that, we had Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns.
Banger. Holy shit.
Yeah, man. My biggest takeaway from this fight is, wow.
Rich, don't go to the next picture yet, Rich, until I set it up.
Khamzat Chimaev is human.
He's human, and not just that, but shout out Christopher. I work with Christopher. He's super into MMA too. And he was like, we still don't know how good Khamzat is because he's never been tested. We don't know how good he is. He's never been benchmarked. And he's like, he's like, all I care about, I don't care if he wins, loses. All I want is to know how good he is. Yeah. And now we know. Because what a fucking war these dudes put on.
Hey, that's what Khamzat wanted. When they ran into each other and they were naked, he's like, let's fight naked, brother. All these different things.
Look at him while Gilbert Burns is walking out. Just him and Darren Till just chilling.
But, man, it's just – I almost wanted Khamzat to just blow through Gilbert Burns. And I love Gilbert Burns. But just because mystical creature known as Khamzat Chimaev, I just wanted that mystery to continue building,
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. Like you said, we don't know how good a fighter is until we see him get tested and see him bounce back. And we saw that from Chimaev. Now, he's going to have to take a different approach in his next fight.
Well, here's the thing. I think this was the point he was trying to prove, and he proved it. Because in between rounds, his corner's like piss at him. What the fuck are you doing? Take him down. Like, there was no translator, but I caught translation later online that it was like full on, like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop standing there. Like, take him down. Do all this shit. And Khamzat's just like, and then goes out there and goes to war again.
Hey, he's been around Darren Till too long.
Yeah, dude, in that first round, when they did end up on the ground for a bit, Gilbert's no joke on the ground.
Nope.
Khamzat just picks him up and scoots him for a bit. And I was like, holy shit, dude, that is terrifying. But then Gilbert was like, I'm too fucking crafty for this shit, rolled out of it, gives up his back to get back up, gets up easily, and then they go back to war. And, man, I kind of wanted to see more grappling, honestly, just because the grappling matchup was what I was so excited for in this fight. But like you said, I think going forward, Chimaev is not going to fight like this. He doesn't need to, because now he's proven that he can get through a dogfight.
Yep.
Because I'm sure if you're Khamzat, you're hearing people say the same thing. We don't know what it's like when he gets hurt. How does he deal with it? All this shit, right? Like what if he just folds under pressure when he does finally get hurt? Now we know that he doesn't. Now we know. Because first round, clear Khamzat win, right? Gets the takedown for the second. Drops him with the jab. The jab was so good. Stiff jab drops him. Second round gets dropped twice. Khamzat gets dropped twice. And then he comes back and wins the third round.
Yep.
He does not fold.
Look at that face. That's the most damage we've ever seen on Khamzat.
I mean, going into this fight, he had been hit once.
That's crazy.
And it was like a little like, get off me. It wasn't like, like it wasn't like a real strike.
Oh, man. So, what this reminded me of is like Izzy. So when he fought Gastelum and he's in this war, and then after that fight, we haven't seen it again. Why?
Yeah.
Because Izzy already showed, hey, if it comes down to it, I need to bite down and be in a war. I can be, but I don't need to.
Yeah.
Exactly. I already showed y'all I have that ability.
Same thing. Yeah.
I already had that ability. I already showed you.
Mm-hmm.
So from now on, I'm going to pick my spots. I'm going to dominate these fighters in whatever style is going to allow me to win the fight in a dominant fashion, and we'll go from there. But he's already shown that he can.
From now on, I'm taking the path of least resistance. But now I've showed you that I can bang anywhere. Like it doesn't matter where this fight goes, because Dude, Gilbert hits hard. Gilbert hits hard as fuck. I mean, he rocked Usman bad.
Yep.
Like, the dude swings. And, man, they just both – they had a little scuffle at the end of the second round,
Yeah,
right?
that was funny.
I think Khamzat got knocked out in that second round. At the end of the round, he gets dropped bad. He gets turned, and then the other one drops him. He's in on the takedown when the bell rings. I'm pretty sure he's like completely gone, and because they're like, all right, it's over. And Khamzat's just like
too?
still on the, he's like on the legs still, and Gilbert's like, dude, get off me.
Yeah,
he's just like hanging on. And then he pushes him, and he's like, what the fuck? And then he like hits him back,
slaps him. Just
yeah.
like,
but it was cool to see after the fight. I mean, both guys. There was a moment after the fight where they're both bloodied, right? Khamzat split here, Gilbert split up here, and Khamzat just walks over to him and like grabs him by the head and just goes forehead to forehead, and they're just both smiling so big after they just beat the shit out of each other. I was like, these guys are fucking savages.
So awesome.
Savages. And Gilbert in that
awesome.
post-fight interview, he's like, what did he say? He's like, I don't really care that I lost. Like, he's like, I'm here to do two things: be the champion and fight the best in the world. And like, that's what I'm here for. And that's what I'm doing.
I wish more people had that attitude.
Animal. Dude, he's an animal.
He is,
both of their stocks went up.
Agreed 100%. All right.
Oh, how about real quick too? When he hurt him, how about Gilbert just goes straight for the soccer kick and misses? Could have got DQ'd.
Yeah.
And then he misses the soccer kick. Khamzat jumps on the legs to shoot the takedown. And immediately Gilbert's like, all right, cool. 12-6 elbows to the back of the head. Let me just soccer kick. 12-6 elbows and strike to the back of the head. He was just like, bah, bah, bah. Just like,
dude, it was just a war. Both of them were just trying to survive.
Yeah. Also, Khamzat did land a 12-6 elbow in the first round too. So
speaking of soccer kicks, man, I started thinking about that more last night. Because and I hate to go back to the Aljo fight, but there's a few times where he's like on all fours and he's like scooting back, moving his head left and right. And I'm like, dude, if soccer kicks were allowed, dude would have just kicked your head into the next galaxy right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain things that we allow in the UFC that allow fighters to be in these awkward positions that, I mean, in a real fight would have gotten dude knocked out.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We've created these safe spaces in fights that it's kind of weird. It's super artificial.
Weird, really weird. And it's very much like when, you have jiu-jitsu practitioners that go into striking jiu-jitsu where they're like in these positions and all of a sudden they get smacked in the face. They're like, wait, what's going on right now? This never happens.
Or like Gordon Ryan. Or not Gordon Ryan. God damn it. I can't think of his name. One of the guys from Danaher Death Squad just got KO'd going for a leg lock. Because in jiu-jitsu, you can just dive on that leg and just keep going until you get it. But
like Ryan Hall.
Yeah, in a real fight. And how about Ryan Hall trains Tan Lee, the guy that knocked him out. He's like, hey, DePudio did this to me. If he does this to you, go for it. But yeah. Hilarious. But I mean, what's next? Not a title shot.
No. Probably
not a title shot for Khamzat.
I mean,
Usman,
you have Colby.
That's what I would like to see, but then it's like, God damn it! If Colby wins that fight, like
you already have Vicente
get another title shot.
Muhammad coming up here pretty soon. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. So the only other option would be Colby Covington.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was surprising to hear Dana say that he's probably not getting a title shot.
Oh yeah, you think he would want to ride that as much as possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking. All right. Well, we had
getting a little too much power, maybe.
Maybe. Before that, we had Mackenzie Dern versus Tecia Tornado Torres. Tornado Torres? Something like that.
Something like that,
yeah.
This fight was a tornado.
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything.
Wild.
Very wild. Mackenzie Dern, again, her striking looks so much better since she's been with Perillo. But still overextends a little bit. Yeah, a little sloppy still, with that overhand right especially. She leaves herself really wide open. And Ticia's like, oh, snaps, you're going to extend like that? Here's a shin to the face real quick.
Yeah.
But Ticia's very technical, man.
Very technical. And that's what was so surprising, that Mackenzie was able to land on her. Yeah, Mackenzie was able to land on Tecia a lot more than I thought she was going to be able to. Because Tecia, like you said, Ticia's so technical. But Mackenzie had a lot of success with her hands. I was surprised.
But I think it's mainly due to the constant pressure.
It's
You know,
the constant pressure and the threat of do not let it get
exactly.
close. Do not let it get close. And then you get caught. And then do not let it
Exactly.
get close because
And
if
man,
she does,
and
she'll jump guard and go for a Kimura on the fence.
when they finally grappled and they're on the ground, I was so impressed with Ticia's
Yeah.
defense.
Same.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, because Mackenzie, let's be real, is top 2, top 3 jiu-jitsu in the UFC. By
Not
far
just in the
the
female
best.
divisions.
Not just the female, in the world. Like not
Yep.
just even the UFC, in the world. I mean, she is a phenom, an absolute phenom. Like people are like, oh, Ortega, if he gets a neck, it's over. Ortega's really good at jiu-jitsu. Mackenzie's better.
If she gets any limb.
Dude, anything she can get. You know she's good when she's fighting someone like Tecia, a high level fighter like Tecia, and they're not only in like the standard positions. They're not in guard, half guard, side control, mount. You know what I mean? Like they're in weird spots because Mackenzie is creating angles that Ticia's like, what the fuck's happening right now?
Yep.
Like, what do I need to protect? You know? You know? And I'm glad the judges got this fight right. It was a split decision. I had Mackenzie because while it was very impressive that Tecia was surviving on the ground, and she was on top for most of it, at the end of the day, she was only defending. She was on top, but she was only defending. And defense does not score anything. Mackenzie might have been on the ground, on the bottom, but she was constantly attacking. I mean, look at her.
I would have to say I was shocked when I heard this. Not because I thought Tecia Torres won, but because the refs got it right.
Yeah.
Or the
yeah,
judges. I'm sorry, the judges got it right.
Yeah.
Because I thought for sure, I was like, well, I think they're going to give it to Tecia because we still have a lot of judges that don't understand ground game.
Yeah.
So
what? Let's see. What judge gave it to Tecia? Barry Luxembourg.
Luxembourg. That's a fancy last name.
It's a fancy last name.
Fancy last name. No, but I think that
more jiu-jitsu.
I just wonder how much more Mackenzie will improve with her striking game.
And I think she will.
You know,
it's kind of hard to say. She's still sloppy, right? She's still sloppy. But I think it would be foolish to say that she didn't look better in the stand-up this fight than she did in her last fight. It seemed like in her last fight, oh, maybe we hit a wall. But, she's landing on Tecia Torres.
I mean, her last fight was against Marina Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like she just faced some slouch and didn't look pretty good. Marina Rodriguez has some of the best boxing in that division.
But it wasn't just that. It seemed like she could maybe hit a wall because it didn't. She wasn't. There was other things outside of being outstruck by Rodriguez.
Marina.
Yeah, there was just things that she was doing that was like that should be corrected by now. But then in this fight, she looked fantastic against a very good striker again, like Tecia Torres.
Yeah, man. So we'll see. We'll see what's next for Mackenzie Dern. She called out Yan Xiaonan possibly.
Great fight.
Which would be a really good fight. And it would be a fight up for Mackenzie. We're still waiting to see what happens with Zhang Wei Li.
And Joanna.
But that was another thing. She's like, I wouldn't mind facing the winner of Zhang versus Joanna, and that'd be a excellent fight as well. Now, but I think, this is where I'm thinking, like how much more will we see her improve on? Because if she faces Joanna, for example,
it still seems like too much,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm wondering, like, how, I guess not how much can she improve, but how much can she improve and how soon? Because ranked at the top 5 right now in your division, you're going to be facing some world beaters no matter who you're facing at this point. And if you're not making some leaps when it comes to your striking improvement, you could get picked apart by Joanna and Jacek.
If I'm Dern's corner, I'm very much going for the Yan Xiaonan fight. I think that's
100%.
that's the most winnable fight above her.
Yep.
And it's one more fight to improve on, and then hopefully after that you can improve before your next one because, at this point it is dangerous. Women's strawweight is terrifying.
When is Namajunas versus Carla Esparza?
I think it's in May.
In May? Dude,
yeah.
Let's say Carla Esparza wins or loses. Either way. How fun would Carla Esparza versus
it's a great
Mackenzie Dern be? Because Carla
fight.
Esparza, we all know the MO, man. Yeah. I'm going to take you down, top control, ground and pound. And the last person you want to take down is Mackenzie Dern. Whether you're on top, whether you're on the bottom, doesn't matter. You're in danger.
Mackenzie smokes Carla Esparza.
Oh, so
smokes her.
If Carla Esparza wins,
That's the path.
if I'm Dern, I'm like, hey, I'm waiting. Like, get me a shot right now. Let me, put feelers out. Let me lobby for this title shot. Get everybody on social media talking about it. I'll call out Esparza directly, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Dern, I'm saying I'm taking Yan Xiaonan so I can get another win in the meantime, and then yeah, hope and pray that Carla wins.
Andrew Toasty saying, you know what else is in May? My title fight.
Shout out
Toasty. That's awesome, man. Yeah, so if anybody's in the Bay Area, got to make sure you check out Andrew Toasty's title fight. Again, it's in May.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
All right. Before that, let's see here. We're going to go skip the Madsen versus Pichel fight.
Yeah.
And we're going to go Ian.
We're already
Garry.
45 minutes in.
Yeah, Ian Garry versus Darian Weeks. We'll try to go through these a little bit faster.
Yeah. So, Ian Garry, everyone's comparing him with Connor. Everyone's like, oh, this is young Connor, all this stuff, right?
Slow down, everybody.
Slow down. And, I mean, he looked very good. He looked very good in this fight. But he's not Connor. And I think it's unfair for people to continue saying what we just said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not Connor. And he's not. It's the end of the story. And then let's move on and focus on what he's doing well, which is very good footwork, a very good 1-2.
Great takedown defense.
Great takedown defense, which I was surprised on.
Stiff jab.
Much better striking defense in this fight than his last. He got caught a lot in his last fight, and he made improvements, and that was impressive. Great. That step-in knee was nasty. And I thought, well, he's going to get taken down off the knee, but it was a good knee. But then he still got the underhooks and blocked the takedown even after this. I mean, you're off balance here. You have guys shooting in on your legs. I was very impressed.
The only thing I would have liked to see more from Garry would have been the use of the jab more often. Every time he caught Weeks with the jab, it would make him stop in his tracks for a second and then regroup. So it was hurting him, man. Every time he hit him with that jab, but he didn't go there enough. And I know you don't want to be a one-trick pony, and you don't want to go to the well too much because then they'll be able to read you. But when it's that successful, make your opponent have to make that adjustment.
Yeah, and his kicks were quick. His leg kicks looked very good,
especially the front kick.
That front kick
straight to the midsection.
Front kick to the face too, and that's the thing, that you set it up to the body. You keep going to the body with the front kick, body front kick, and then all of a sudden you throw it up and you catch him. There was a sequence where he goes 1-2, leg kick, front kick. It's like, man, what are you expecting? How do you defend against that?
Yep.
And it was like anytime he would go 1-2, reset, leg kick, reset, but it was like a half reset. So that Weeks is like, all right, I'm safe. Oh shit! And he's just getting caught. It was very similar to the way Aljo was mixing in his takedowns and his feints on his takedowns, but he was doing it with the striking. And in the third round, he did a great job of turning the corner and then ending up in the center of the cage. And when he was in the center of the cage in the third, he kind of did start letting it go a little bit more.
Yeah,
he dropped him, right? He knocked him down in the third briefly. I mean, I'm impressed. I was very impressed. I mean, this is a young guy, very young. How old is he? He's 9-0 after this fight.
And he is very young. I just hope that somebody whispers in his ear and reminds him, like, dude, you're very young in this game. And I know that you're saying, like, hey, I'm learning, which was perfect. Like, I'm learning. Everybody should expect me to continue learning as I go through my fights, but also don't be up there and be like, Dana, keep on lining him up. I'll keep on knocking him out. And it's like, dude, you just won by decision right now, bro. Like,
he probably already had that planned out,
Maybe. All right.
I like the guy.
Anything else on that fight?
He's getting a lot of hate. No, I'm excited to see his next fight. He's talented.
And I think we're covering, is it Hernandez versus Fremd next?
Yes. All
right. Anthony Hernandez versus Josh Fremd.
This for me was fight of the night up until Khamzat. This was a fantastic fight.
This was a good fight, man. Very impressed with the scrambles. And at first I'm thinking, like, man, Hernandez is super high energy.
Yeah.
Dominant wrestling. And then Fremd is like, hey, dude, I could do this too.
I could do this shit too, dog.
Yeah. And it kind of, the tide starts turning a little bit. Let me ask you, how'd you score this one?
29-28.
29-28 Hernandez?
I had Hernandez in 1 and 3.
Hernandez in 1 and 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think one definitely went Hernandez. The third one is where I was like,
Yeah, I had him 1 and 3. The second one was I thought clear for Fremd. Only one judge gave him the second round. All the other 2 judges gave him 30-27. I thought Fremd did plenty in the second round to earn it.
I just don't think it was a 30-27.
I thought he took the second. I thought that was clear. But
yeah,
I mean,
it was. I don't know. It was weird scoring. Literally just talked about this. We're like,
what's,
I finally got
what's
right.
happening?
No, but yeah,
I'm very high on Anthony Hernandez.
They said it had been how many months since his last fight?
It was a long time, dude. His last fight was the Rodolfo Vieira fight, I'm pretty sure. A long time ago. And remember going into this, the preview that we did 2 weeks ago for this card, I was like, man, my sleeper fight, Anthony Hernandez versus du Plessis, that's a fantastic fight. Cannot wait for that. And then they're like, Kelvin Gastelum's opponent pulled out. Du Plessis, you're up. And Hernandez is like, what?
Yeah.
Like I was fighting him. I signed to fight him, and now that's not happening. And then they're like
14 months.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then they're like, oh, don't worry, we got this UFC newcomer to fight you. And he's like, oh, okay. Would have been cool to fight du Plessis because people are really high on him, and if I got a win over him, it'd probably be really good for my career. Yeah. And so now he has to fight a debuting guy that nobody really knows. And then not just that, but Fremd is no joke. He deserves to be in the UFC. He's very good. He's very good
great in that fight, man. So I'm looking forward to watching them both fight again.
Yeah, same here. I think Anthony Hernandez is going to be in a lot of exciting fights.
Agreed.
A lot of exciting fights. Dude, when he swept him, Hernandez kind of went for the crucifix, and he was just like, nope, and just flipped him over. I was like, that's high level because Hernandez is dangerous on the ground. Very good on the ground. No slouch.
I don't think people realize how hard that is to do, too.
Dude, yeah. When you get crucifix, there's a reason why most of the time when someone gets you in a crucifix, they end up beating you until it's over. to just strong arm somebody and sweep them is wild. And Hernandez kept going for the guillotine, kept going for the Darce choke, just couldn't get it. You could tell he really wanted that win by a Darce or by a guillotine because there's a couple times I thought he could have got the hooks in and taken the back and maybe gone for a rear naked choke, but he was like, no, I want this cool choke. Maybe he watched an earlier fight and was like, I can do this too.
Let's see. Before that, we had Pennington versus Aspen Ladd. Raquel Pennington versus Aspen Ladd.
There are levels to this.
Yes. So, dude, as soon as I saw this one, I was like, all right, dude, let me just circle Pennington on this one right here.
Same.
And they pointed this out, but this is something that I even said on the last time that we saw Aspen Ladd was just the hand movement, and the head movement that's just nonstop. And look, I get it. You're trying to throw your opponent off, but when you look at the opposite end of the spectrum and you have Raquel Pennington,
and she's just like, all right,
very little wasted movement, little wasted movement, man, which allowed her to have energy all 3 rounds, pick her shots. But what was so weird to me though is that Aspen Ladd would start trading, and then like you have all this head movement, then you start trading, and your head stays on the center line.
Yeah,
you get tagged, and after you get tagged and Pennington backs up, you start with the head movement again. I'm like, use that while you're striking, like use that while you're throwing. Like, don't keep your head there. So it's just like a lot to learn for Aspen Ladd.
It's not just that, but it's when you're at outer range and you're moving your head moving all this stuff, your opponent's making reads, and they're like, okay, I see the pattern, their head movement pattern, and then when you are engaging, you showed them your hand already. Whereas, like you said, Raquel, stoic. And then as soon as we're starting to engage, now I'm moving. And her head movement looked phenomenal in this fight. Phenomenal. And what was I would imagine the stats on this were 114 to 65 strikes landed for Raquel.
Lopsided.
Yeah.
Lopsided for sure.
Yeah. Raquel was calling Aspen. Chelsea says Raquel was calling Aspen Ladd's corner clowns after the fight for what they were saying to Ladd. Yeah, she was like, yeah, I heard them say that they were like, she's wilting. You're pressuring her too much. She's giving up. And she was like, what? Like, I'm fucking winning.
I'm piecing her up.
Yeah, and then she was like, I thought it was weird too because Aspen came up to me after the fight and was like, man, that was super close. We're gonna have to run this back. And Raquel was like, what? I just,
Oh
I just
no.
beat the brakes off of you on all 3
Oh
rounds.
no. And the other thing I want to call out too with Rocky was just Lad at a certain point. I think when she was getting pieced up, she realized she was a little more tentative, and she would throw one shot at a time, and Rocky was countering with a 2 or 3 shot combo. So
Mixing it head, body.
Lad would throw a jab, come in with a jab, step in hard, and then Rocky would step in at the same time, duck, and just hit body, shot, head.
And then she's out.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
beautiful.
She looked phenomenal. Like, that was a masterclass performance. Every once in a while, you get one, right? Nate Diaz versus Cowboy Cerrone. This was one of those fights.
The interview, they're like, Rocky, this was a big risk, and what was it, 9 days notice for you to step in and blah, blah. And like, Raquel was pretty cool. And she's like, I just want to fight the best out there, blah, blah. But in her, she's like, this is easy money, bro. Like, how much risk was there really? Like, if you take a look at the footage on Aspen Lad, you said you get the timing down. And like, she probably knew, like, all right, I'm going to go in here, I'll piece this girl up real quick, make a few G's. And then,
both checks.
And then just, well, we'll see what's next.
Yeah.
I'll be able to fight again soon.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
No, but props to Raquel Pennington, man. It was a fantastic performance.
Yeah. Very good. Very fun fight.
Mike Malott versus Mickey Gall.
Yeah, man. It's cool to see Canada with some future, Because like in the past, man, when GSP was at the top, it was like, it was crazy, dude. The Canadian cards that they would put on were just absolutely nuts. When he fought Jake Shields in Canada, like, holy shit, it was crazy. When he fought Josh Koscheck in Canada, Canada wants a star, like they're an MMA country, and there just hasn't really been much high level since Rory kind of took his back burner. But so it's cool to see.
They might have one.
Yeah,
they might have
they got Hakeem Dawodu, and Mike is very talented.
This was Mike's debut.
Yeah.
And so it gets me thinking, Mickey Gall now 7-5, right? And Mickey, we all know, was thrown. Hey, Rich, before you switch over to the next picture, just hang out on this one for a second here. But was thrown into the UFC to fight CM Punk.
Yeah.
Before that, I think he started off 1-0. It was Dana White's looking for a fight. Dana White was there. He wins his pro debut. And he's like, hey, give me CM Punk. And then Dana's like, you know what? This might actually kind of make sense. We have a newer MMA fighter. Yeah, I kind of like this guy. And here we are. He's had a tough go, man.
He's a vet at this point. He has more UFC fights than Luke Rockhold.
2, 3, 4, 5. So he's lost 5 of his last 8 fights.
Yeah. It's just crazy because I still see him as like the young guy, right? But he's been in there a long time now.
He has. And the thing is that, look, dude, he's still learning.
100%.
He's still learning. But the tough part is that you're learning against the best in the world.
And you're not learning. It sucks to say, and like, who the fuck am I to say? But you're not learning quick enough. You're just not. Because when he's coming in and he's throwing these combos, his chin is up and he's out of position while he's throwing the combos. And you fight a guy like Mike who is so tight and so technical, he's gonna rip you in between your combos. And that's what happened. If you watch the replay on the knockout, Mickey Gall has him against the cage and he's throwing. He throws one punch that is literally like he's throwing like a sidearm.
Oh yeah.
Like
hitting him with the side of his hand.
Yeah, and chin straight up. Like, you can't be doing that. And Mike is he throws the shoulder first. The shoulder comes and the hand comes after. It extends off the shoulder in tight. Just catches him enough to just completely shut him off. And
hey, Rich, go ahead and put that picture up now. Look at that.
Yeah, and dude, it looked like he fell fast. It looked like they fast forwarded the footage when he fell.
It was.
He shot down.
A straight face plant, man. And
yeah.
Props to Mickey Gall because he came to like 2 seconds after that. And he was still trying to defend himself. It was a good stoppage. They stopped it shortly after this.
Yeah.
And when that's a rough shot, man.
Yeah.
The ref stops it and you see Gall then grabs the ref's leg.
Yeah. Not
like just autopilot at this point, just survival mode. And then when he realizes it's ref, he's like, why'd you stop it? Like, oh, bro, you're just trying to grab the ref's leg, man, defending yourself, So it's a good stoppage. But the fact that he stood right back up after that and was walking around, and I was like, God damn, man, this guy is tough.
Yeah. I mean, how about Mike Malott? I mean, his last loss was in 2014 against Hakeem Dawodu.
Wow.
He's good.
That Canadian
He's very
circuit,
good.
huh?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they got a couple guys now that are, they're coming back up, and it's very cool to see. Is Jourdain Canadian?
I think
Air
he is,
Jourdain? Yeah, Dawodu, Mike.
Isn't he with TriStar?
Probably. I would be if I was in Canada.
I mean, yeah. All right. Before that.
Yeah, not much to talk about. First round knockout.
No.
Great job. Looking forward to see his next one.
Aleksei Oleinik versus Jared Vanderaa. Dude.
Fucking awesome, man.
This is classic Oleinik, man.
Yeah, man. Like,
classic
it's
Oleinik.
so cool.
All right. So we talked about Mackenzie Dern, right? And I'm like, hey,
yeah.
whether you're on top or on the bottom, if you're on the ground with Mackenzie Dern, stop. It's a bad idea.
Stop. Just disengage.
With Aleksei Oleinik, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If you're on the ground with this guy, it's a bad idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a world-class, and I mean world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner.
And
then
even
maybe.
then, you might get to mount and get choked out.
Okay, so this overhand right,
all he throws.
That we're seeing right now is all he throws. Yeah, but again, it's to see if he catches you, gets you thinking about that overhand right, and then he's going for the takedown.
It's not just that. It's the same thing Fedor would do. He throws it wild. It's the casting punch. He throws it wild. It's like a fishing lure. And if it lands, great. It's going to hurt because it's a big swinging overhand. If it misses, you end up here and you can tie up. And ultimately, that's what he's looking for. If he doesn't land, he's still closing the distance, and he'll just pull guard like he did in this fight.
Yeah, and then you see a part here where, okay, so I'm watching this, right? And Vanderaa ends up taking Oleinik's back. And everybody's like, oh, look at this. Yeah. Look at this. But the funny part is on my part, I'm still like, Vanderaa, you got to get out of there, Vanderaa. You got to get out of there. So, here it is right here. So everybody's like, oh, and I'm like, no, this is bad, Vanderaa. This is bad. Like, get out. Can you imagine him in this position just like letting go and like kicking him off and standing back up and be like, dude, what are you doing? But that would have been the best thing for him to do at that point.
That would have been the best thing. It's like it was like the opposite of when Alan Belcher was fighting Husmar Palhares, and they're on the ground, and Joe's like, get out of there, Alan. Get out of there. But then he ends up beating him on the ground. It was the opposite. They shouldn't have been excited. They should have been like, get out of there, Jared.
They should have. Like, what are you doing? And Richard Casual says, when keeping it real goes wrong, this is a perfect example of that for sure, man. And then the squeeze here, man.
The scarf, man.
Squeeze. As soon as he lets go, first of all, like, he's trying to get his head out. And for a second there, I'm like, he might get this out because he's pushing, his head slipping a little bit. And then you see the panic in the tap.
Well, because he did the right thing in the first part. When he first set it up, he has both hands on Oleinik's face, and he's pushing away. He's framing his face because eventually, like, that can only go so far, and eventually your elbows will extend, and you might be able to get out. But then Oleinik adjusts, slips the hands off, and just goes right to the crank. And this isn't necessarily a choke. Like, this is
neck crank.
This is like you get in a choke, and you're like, oh, this sucks, and I can't breathe, and it starts closing in, and then you can go out. This feels like your jaw, your collarbone, and your neck is about to snap. Like, this is pain, like pure pain.
And how about the pain was so much that when he lets him go, he rolls over and starts dry heaving. And and as soon as it happens, the camera's like, oh, and it pans elsewhere because they thought he was going to throw up. Luckily, he didn't.
Scarfold is nasty, and one of the best in the world at it. Nasty submission.
Yeah,
so nasty.
But,
did you see?
And then what's up?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the post-fight interview, because everybody's booing, because of everything that's going on right now, and everybody's booing. And then he's like, "How much longer do you want to do this?" He goes, "Not long, Joe. 5, 10 more years." And then everybody in the crowd starts cracking up, dude. They're like, "Hey, actually, this Russian isn't that bad."
Yeah. Did you see the backstage after the fight?
Oh, when he's teaching him
the
Ezekiel choke.
Yeah, Rich, I just sent it in the private chat if you want to pull that up, because Oleinik is known for being able to Ezekiel choke people from the bottom mount, which is insane to pull off in mixed martial arts. And so at the end of this fight, they're backstage, and Jared goes up to him and is like, hey, like, show me how you do that shit, because it is wild. Like, most people don't know what the fuck you're doing, and all of a sudden they're tapping, and then and then that's a wrap. So he shows them, and it's so cool. And I think Rich has it right here. Let me watch that real quick.
Shout out
He
at
shows it
UFC
on some
Europe.
random security guard. Security guard's like,
hey, man.
Oleinik's walking up to me. All of a sudden, he's getting choked out. So now he does it to him. He goes cheek to cheek, sets it up. It's like a backwards rear naked choke, and then he puts a lock hand down.
That's so cool, though, man.
This made me really like Vanderaa.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, both the guys.
Oh, yeah, Oleinik, but he already had me. But Vanderaa, I was kind of like indifferent on. And after watching this, like, look at them showing. They just
All right, we can probably take it off now. Yeah. Just gets all loud right there. No, but the humility, right? For Vanderaa to be like, hey, man, great fight, whatever. Hey, can you teach me that move that you're known for?
The genuine curiosity of like I want to know how you do that. Like, show me how you do that. That's fucking sick. And Oleinik is just like the class act. Like, oh yeah, like, here it is.
Awesome.
So right. Cool, man. You love to see
those were all the fights we're gonna cover because I mean we're already at an hour here.
The three main fights were we spent some time on those.
100%, man. All right, moment of silence, Will.
Moment of silence for me. There's a lot. Pat Sabatini was supposed to fight Gavin Tucker. Would have been cool. I like watching Gavin Tucker fight. Irene Aldana was supposed to fight Aspen Ladd. Instead, Aspen Ladd gets pieced up by Rocky. Kelvin Gastelum versus Nasruddin Imavov would have been so good. And Imavov couldn't get the visa. He had visa issues. He couldn't get in. Duplessis was supposed to fight Chris Curtis. Would have been a great fight. Hernandez steps in because he was supposed to fight Duraev. Duraev pulled out also. So Hernandez was supposed to fight Duplessis. And then when Imavov pulled out, they took Duplessis away from Hernandez and then gave him to Kelvin. But then Kelvin pulled out, and so they had to get Duplessis out. And then Hernandez takes on Fremd. So just craziness. Rosenstruck versus Tybura was supposed to happen. Would have been fun. That got pulled like a couple days before the event. And then Oleinik was supposed to fight Ilir Latifi. Latifi withdrew. That was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago. It got pushed to this card, and then he withdrew. Oleinik gets a cool scarfold choke. Crazy drama behind the scenes on this card as far as fights getting pulled. It was wild.
It sucks because, like you said, Duplessis loses his opponent, Gastelum loses his opponent. They're both 185, so UFC was like, hey,
perfect.
Why don't you guys just fight each other?
Yeah.
And then Gas ends up getting injured, so it's unfortunate.
And then Hernandez is like, why the fuck did you pull him from my fight? We could have still fought. Why didn't they just make that fight back? Because now Fremd has his debut, and they're like, well, we can't just take this guy's debut away from him.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Bonuses, I believe. What was it? Shoot, I had it for a second. What was it?
Yeah. Okay. By the way, Chelsea called out the fact that Mike Malott got a wad of cash from a fan as he's walking back into the locker room.
That's
which
awesome.
Is pretty interesting, huh?
That's awesome.
Yeah, very
some mafia shit, some Canadian mafia shit. But yeah, so Volkanovski got a performance bonus for finishing Korean Zombie. Oleinik got a performance bonus for the Scarfold choke, which is very well deserved. Mm-hmm. And Gilbert Burns and Khamzat got fight of the night.
Fight of the night.
That's and not just fight of the night, but Gilbert got his show and win money.
What's this new thing that Dana's going to start doing with Bitcoin and the fans voting something?
It's like a fan vote. Fan vote for one of the bonuses. And that's what ONE FC does. There's like the regular ones, and then there's a fan vote bonus. So that's what they're going to be doing, and it's going to be crypto. And I'm sure it's going to be a way to supplement fighter pay and get out of paying people and shit like that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. You're going to start paying them in NFTs.
Yeah,
like,
this is worthless, but
here you go. All right, man. Well, hey, that's all I got.
Yeah,
we covered a lot already.
Yeah, I think next event is what is it? Bilal Muhammad versus Luque. Is that next?
I believe so.
Is that next week? Yes. 16th.
Yes. Hey, but also before that, we have AJ McKee versus Patricio Pitbull, which should be an interesting fight in Bellator. I'm a big fan of AJ McKee. I think he is the real deal. If we get him in the UFC, he would make some noise for sure.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen AJ McKee fight yet, check that one out.
Yeah. Also, next weekend in Japan time, we got Roberto de Souza versus Johnny Case. Roberto de Souza, lightweight champ, he could be in the UFC. I would very much like to see him fight in the top 5 in the UFC. Cannot wait for that fight.
Nice.
That's the plug for
All right, but yes, we do have Vicente Luque versus Bilal Muhammad. That is next for the UFC. Anything else that stands out to you on that card?
I haven't really looked at it, to be honest, but I remember it being pretty...
Miguel Baeza's fighting. I always like watching him. Pat Sabatini's going to be on that card. Rafa Garcia.
Yeah,
he's a lot of fun to watch.
Chris Barnett.
Oh, there we go. We're just talking about Canadians, dude.
Yeah, Chris Barnett coming off the wheel kick knockout at heavyweight. William Knight versus Devin Clark. Like to see Devin Clark back in there. Jordan Levitt's in there. Kevin Kroom always puts on bangers.
Yeah.
Jakar Close versus Brandon Jenkins. It's a good card.
It is a good card. All right. Got anything else, Will?
Nope. That's pretty much it. Like Rich just put on there, we are at 342 subs. So please subscribe. We're trying to get to 400. Close.
Yeah.
Keep this
if you don't like seeing our faces, but you like listening to us, Spotify, Breaker, Podcast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Anchor, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find ours. Make sure you like, subscribe there as well. And then social media.
Yeah. At Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit. Everywhere.
Same handle all the way across.
Everywhere.
Easy.
We lucked out.
All right. Thank you, Toasty, for joining us. Thank you, Bruce Bobtrotter, for joining us live. And thanks to anybody else that listens to this later on.
Yeah.
Another week, a Story of the Fight. Thanks, everybody.